Life Audio.
Welcome to the Team Us podcast, where we share how grace, commitment, and cooperation can help couples live the everyday moments of marriage together. Hey everyone, we're Ted
and Ashley Slater. Today we have an episode for our listeners who are not yet married. It's never too late or too early to view wedding planning as a marriage-building activity and not merely an end in itself. So listen in as we share 3 skills that engaged couples can practice when approaching wedding planning as a team. So Ted.
So Ashley.
Today we're shaking things up a bit.
I like shaking things.
Like typically we talk about topics that are for people who are already married.
Right.
But today we have an episode for couples who are engaged or might be engaged soon.
Sweet.
Or thinking about getting engaged.
Yes.
Or want to get engaged.
Wow.
People who will be planning a wedding at some point.
Well, I think it's very relevant. For most of
Right.
my life, I was not married to you. Sad to say.
That's true. Although, you know what? I'm about at the point where I have almost been married as long as I was single.
What a blessing.
That's crazy, right? Anyway.
Yes.
So this episode is for people who are not yet married.
Yes.
But if you are married and you're listening, don't stop listening. Keep listening and then share this with a couple that you know who might be getting ready to start their life together.
Sure.
All right. So I have to admit that when I picked today's topic, which has to do with wedding planning, I based it on information that it turns out I was actually mistaken about.
Wait, you were mistaken. Help me understand. What? In what way?
Well, it does happen quite often, but I thought that June was the most popular month to get married in. Turns out I was wrong.
June. I would think, spring celebration. I would think of it around June, although we didn't get married in June.
No, I mean, apparently, this whole thing of June brides goes back to some sort of Roman traditions or something like that. It always goes back to the Romans, doesn't it?
Americans got to do it, or I'm speaking for most of our audience, but not all. Americans are not following the Roman traditions, apparently.
Yeah, well, okay. Apparently June is a popular month, but it's not the most popular month. There are 2 months that are more popular. Can you guess what they are?
Well, among certain groups, probably October, because it's like kind of fun and...
Yeah, you are like a smarty pants, aren't you?
I would say December because that's when we got married.
Okay, well, according to brides.com and The Knot,
yes,
October is the most popular month.
Are you
to get
serious?
married in.
I was joking. I was thinking Halloween, so of course it's a silly thing to say.
No, October followed by September. I guess it's those fall months.
Would never have thought.
Yeah,
so
and then,
people get done with school, maybe they graduate from college and they're like...
I think it's just fall is pretty, the weather's nice.
Wait. That's in the middle of the... what am I talking about?
Right, school is not done.
Wow. Okay. You can tell everything. Wow, I got that really wrong.
Yeah.
I will let you do the talking.
Yeah. So June actually ranks as third. And after that, there is some disagreement on the order in which May, July, and August.
Not between us.
Rank.
We are in agreement, you and me.
Yeah. Rank in terms of popularity, depending upon when the article was written. I looked at articles that were published between 2023 and 2025.
Okay.
January was the least popular.
January.
And also the least expensive month to get married in.
Note to our readers, January.
Or our listeners.
I'm not that sleepy. I'm doing fine, but I'm just the wrong words are coming out.
It's because we were talking about articles. That's why you said readers.
Thank you. You saved me.
Right. So yes, if you need to save money, get married in January. Apparently December is not that popular either.
It was popular for me.
Well, yeah, but we were able to plan our wedding pretty quickly.
We were.
So when it comes to wedding planning, what I think is one of the most important decisions a couple can make is to plan together.
Really? More important than table settings or cakes or chicken?
Yeah, because a wedding marks the beginning of a marriage, and the marriage is a joining of 2 people.
Okay.
So I think that the wedding should be joint ideas, preferences, and efforts of those 2 people.
It's kind of in a way, for many couples, I would think it's the first big thing that the couple does together, right?
Right.
In front of, dozens of people, maybe more.
Right.
So that's a great point. Good.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think the default is it's the bride and her mother and the wedding planner, and they're planning it, and the groom's just yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that. However,
not in our case. You weren't content with minimal involvement.
it's because I'm the man, or I was.
I mean, your interest went beyond what many like bridal magazines and websites list as traditional responsibilities for the groom.
Okay.
You know, beyond choosing groomsmen and practicing vows and buying wedding bands.
No
and
ties. We had no
honeymoon.
ties.
No, you did not.
Not even bow ties. We had little dots, like little, cufflinks.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to like post a picture on social media.
Sure.
But like you were fully invested in most of the details. You had opinions about the time and lighting of the ceremony.
Of course, I recognized that this is the bride's special day. So I deferred to a lot, even though I was also collaborating with you. You're like, wait, no, that's not the way I remember it. I would like to think that I deferred to you a lot.
I feel like we just had
do
a
some
lot.
compromising things.
Yes, I think we did have some compromising. That's going to be one point we actually talk about.
Well, let's do it.
But like, I mean, we talked about the music and who should sing and all of that. And I remember
song
being
selection.
excited that we were working on it together because it was clear to me that you were excited about it. And as I look back on it now, I also see how wedding planning together helped prepare us for marriage because it allowed us to approach our wedding as equally engaged team members.
That's clever and good. I'm looking forward to seeing how this unfolds, our conversation.
Well, I mean, when a couple is equally engaged, there's no room for the bride-centered princess for a day ceremony or reception.
Princess for a day.
I mean, instead, the wedding is about both the bride and the groom and their long-term relationship. Yeah. So I think wedding planning together allows a couple to practice essential skills they're going to need to live in unity in their day-to-day married life.
Yeah, I think that's unarguable. Yeah. I think that's a word. I'm trying to assemble a number of word roots to say what I'm trying to say.
Well, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about 3 marital skills that engaged couples can learn and practice when they approach wedding planning as a team.
Excellent.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
So today we're sharing 3 marital skills that engaged couples can practice when they approach wedding planning as a team. So the first one is the art of compromise.
Mm-hmm. So, do we need to define the term first?
Well, marriage will offer lots of opportunities to work together to find middle ground.
Middle ground, okay.
I mean, compromise is kind of finding middle ground, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's as small as where to place the surround sound speakers in the living room. That's a real life example.
Yeah, that's a me thing.
Mm-hmm. Or as big as how to name your future child.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that compromise doesn't always come naturally, especially in the beginning. I think it's hard to go from being independent to being interdependent.
Right.
And I think it takes a lot of practice and a lot of dying to yourself to be willing to give and take.
Right. For me, honestly, a lot of the things associated with the wedding, like the wedding ceremony itself, for me, it was easier to compromise. You know, the centerpieces, the food, at least in retrospect, I'd like to think that that was my perspective. The big things like where are we going to spend our honeymoon and big stuff like that.
I think the biggest thing we had a hard time probably compromising on, and I don't even think I have this in my notes, was the location.
Okay. Right. I was thinking the church that, I'd been at for years.
Well, they had just built
completed
a new building.
It wasn't quite ready to use, even though it had been completed.
But here's the thing, that was very special to you because you had been going there a long time.
Right.
But it was also more of a multi-purpose room.
It was a multi-purpose room.
And
I
wanted
it for playing basketball.
Something with a little more charm.
And that's what we ended up with.
Right, because
which is wonderful.
I think that if the church had been ready and had held weddings, I probably would have ended up deferring to you because it meant so much to you.
Right.
But I ended up getting something with charm because they weren't ready. We ended up in a historic church.
Right. And it was already decorated for Christmas. So
yes, another reason to get married in December. They've already decorated the
flowers
church.
and candles and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff.
So I think if you're listening and you're planning a wedding is a great time to start learning the art of compromise. One way to do that is to be aware of those details where you might not immediately agree. Like for us, the location.
You're right. Yeah. That was a big deal.
Right. For other people, it might be the main dish at the reception or what type of vows to use in the ceremony.
Or guests to invite.
Right. Yeah. And I think instead of immediately pushing for what you want, listen to each other and consider the options.
Right. That's a great point because you're marrying somebody who you respect, so you're going to respect their opinion. So invite their opinion and consider it.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think another one was like our rehearsal dinner location because we got married or we had it at a German restaurant. Mm-hmm. And we had to kind of figure out like my side of the family doesn't drink alcohol. Mm-hmm. Yours does.
And the name of the restaurant was Beer Garden.
Yeah. So cute. Such a cute little place. But we kind of had to go back and forth and figure out, okay, how can we have it here?
Right.
And make sure everyone's comfortable.
And it turned out great. We did not serve alcohol. I thought it was fabulous. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, it worked out well. But that was another area we had to have some discussion. And figure out what would serve the occasion and the guests best.
Right. I mean, if I had dug in my heels and said, hey, we're going to a German restaurant. They serve beer on tap, like 15 different amazing beers. If I had really dug in my heels, it would have been a ugly feeling and I would have regretted it now, 20-something years later.
And just for the record, I mean, Jesus drank wine. We are not anti-alcohol. No. It's moderation. But we're also respectful of different people's convictions and views. And this was a matter of figuring out what was the best for everyone involved.
Right. Even though it was our wedding, we also took into consideration other people's feelings or whatever.
Exactly. All right. You ready for number 2?
I am.
Okay. So number 2 is the finesse of cooperation.
Finesse. That's a great word. What do you mean by finesse?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it just sounds very artsy.
It does. It's fascinating. Finesse. I think of like slowly massaging something into existence.
Well, when you proposed, I had just started my second year of grad school. Mm-hmm. And we had to pick a wedding date and it was challenging. And we were not one of those couples who was like, oh, we'll just keep waiting till it's convenient. We were like,
we'll stay engaged just indefinitely.
No, we're like, we got engaged. We want to get married. We're going to pick a date.
We got engaged because we knew we'd get married.
Yeah. We're not like The Office where they're just Pam and Roy are like engaged perpetually forever. Yeah, I know, but I've been watching reruns of The Office. Do they call it reruns anymore since it's streaming? I don't even know.
Yes.
I'm dating myself by using the term rerun. Anyway.
I dated you once.
Yes, you did. But anyway, so we kind of had to limit when we would have the wedding to the months when I was off school. Because originally you were like, let's get married in February. And I'm like, that's right in the middle of the semester.
Why did I say February? That's dumb.
Because Valentine's Day is in February. I think that's why.
That was a silly suggestion.
So we kind of narrowed our choices down to December or a summer month. Mm-hmm. But if we picked December, it only gave us 4 months to pull off a wedding.
Right. So I look at the calendar and I was like, oh, the longest night of the year, let's have our wedding on that day. And that's what we did.
No, I think it's just that December 21st was a Saturday that year. Oh. I think that was just happened to be what it was. And now you can tell that story every year. But we kind of, we went back and forth on the pros and cons until we decided we'd rather get married sooner rather than later.
Sure. Yep.
And it ended up being plenty of time.
It was perfect.
Plus, like I said, December is a less popular month to get married in. So that worked in our favor, probably in booking.
A beautiful church was available.
Yeah. Locations. Mm-hmm. And we didn't need a caterer because we did a dessert reception.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having to cooperate when it came to picking the date or like deciding on colors, we realized that working together to accomplish a common purpose made our relationship stronger.
Mm-hmm. And finesse. What do you mean by that? Because that's a great word. I just don't understand how it applies to cooperation.
I think it just sounds good. Finesse. I don't have a good reason for it.
Okay. Maybe it's a poetic inspiration that came to you, and someday we'll understand.
Okay, I'm going to admit that I did base this episode on an article I wrote a couple years ago. So I probably had a very good reason on picking finesse a couple years ago. And I don't remember what that was.
It's poetic and it inspires me. It sparks joy.
Yes. So. I'll let you know if I remember why. Okay. Well, so yes, I'm admitting that I don't remember.
Well, joy has been sparked.
Right.
Finesse.
Okay. So for those of you listening, cooperating as you plan will help you enter marriage with an us mentality rather than a me and you philosophy. So, think about a problem you're currently facing. Maybe the caterer you want is already booked and you need to find another one.
Oh, yeah,
Determine
that's practical.
To work together to find another great fit. Or perhaps you want a specific type of flower that's not readily available. Brainstorm ways you could still have it or something similar at your wedding.
It's easy to get really disappointed if something doesn't just work out the way you had dreamed that it would work out.
Right.
But cooperating, you can share the disappointment and brainstorm new ideas. That's good.
Yeah, and something probably will go wrong. I mean, our cake, we had the freshest wedding cake ever.
Yeah, we were talking about beforehand, what's the worst that can go wrong? The cake, they forget to make the cake. And that's exactly what happened. I showed up, the cake was not made, and the bakery was closed, but there was somebody back there. I waved them over, and they came over, and they're like, we're closed. And I was like, do you have my cake? They're like, no, what? And then they found the receipt, and they were like, "Oh, we'll have it ready for you." So it was still warm. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Some people might say you jinxed it, but, it all worked out.
And it makes for a fun story and retelling.
And when you told me, I didn't freak out because I was prepared.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to take another break, and when we return, we'll share one more marital skill that engaged couples can practice when they approach wedding planning as a team.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
So today we're talking about skills engaged couples can learn when they decide to wedding plan as a team. And so the third one is the joy of collaboration. And now I know, joy. I was going to say, I know why I picked joy, because collaborating can bring joy.
Good.
So, so I remember after our wedding, one of my cousins being astounded that we hadn't used a traditional wedding march in our ceremony.
Right.
He was like, I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. How fun is that?
And I think out of everything at our wedding, the music we chose probably best reflected our collaboration. Mm-hmm. There was Rachmaninoff, Vespers.
Yeah.
Did I say it wrong?
You said it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you introduced me to that.
That was magical. And it was a night wedding with candles. Oh,
you were very insistent that it be a night wedding with candles so that the music would work.
Yeah.
Well.
Was I pretty? It's been so long I forget our conversation.
Yeah,
I think pushed for that.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was those things.
You don't resent me for that?
No.
Good.
Not at all.
It's collaboration.
Collaboration. We had a Bebo Norman song that I introduced to you to.
Yep.
And then we had two songs that we'd both listen to.
Chapman.
Yeah. Twyla Paris. Independently, over the years. So I think when it came to planning our wedding, each of us allowed the other person to bring individual personality and strengths to the process. I didn't know a lot about classical music at that point, but you did. Mm-hmm. And I trusted your expertise and opinion when it came to it.
Rachmaninoff Vespers is the perfect music for a pre-wedding, for a night service.
Especially in December when it's chilly.
And I'm just getting chills thinking of it.
So for those of you listening, think about how you can do the same. Is there an area where your fiancé is especially knowledgeable or gifted? You can encourage him or her to take the lead in those details.
Right. Absolutely. It's your wedding. Do it together. Have fun.
Yeah. And, you don't have to go with the traditional music or traditional. You can be untraditional. I mean, I tend to like traditional vows.
Me too.
But that's me.
Yeah, I like traditional vows.
Because I think traditional vows keep you accountable over the years.
And it allows other people in the audience and the congregation to sort of whisper them to their spouses, during the service. But again, even that, there are no rules. This is your wedding.
Right.
Work through it together.
Right.
Have fun.
All right. Well, we are ready to recap.
Yes, we are. Let's
So, to recap, engaged couples, the main idea is plan your wedding together. When you do that, it gives you the opportunity to work together as a united team and start practicing skills you will need in marriage. And those skills include...
Can I say these?
Yeah, go for it.
The art of compromise, the finesse of collaboration, and the joy of... Are we using collaboration again?
Did I use collaboration twice? Oh, it's the finesse of cooperation.
Okay. I misspoke.
No, I had
So
a
it's
typo.
compromise, cooperation, and collaboration.
Yes. Yeah, typo there.
I ruined that, didn't I?
You did not ruin it. I had a
I should've let
typo in
you
the
just
notes I
say
gave
them.
you. All right, well, why don't you say them one more time?
Okay. The art of compromise, the finesse of...
Cooperation.
The art of compromise, the finesse of cooperation, and the joy of collaboration.
Yes. Very good. So for this week's Us Time Challenge, I have two.
Yes.
So one, if you're married and you've kept listening this long.
Yes. Congratulations. You are a winner.
Yes.
In our book.
Look back at your wedding planning and reminisce on how you may have practiced one or more of these skills and how it has benefited your marriage today.
Mm-hmm. That was fun for me to do just now.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm. And engaged couples or couples thinking about getting married, pick one of these three skills and apply it to something you either still need to plan or an area you are having a hard time agreeing on.
Let your man have a say, for goodness sake, would you? That's not exactly what we're saying, but I'm just being serious. Yeah.
If that's what you're having problems with.
There you go.
Yes. So thanks for joining us on the Team Us podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up for my weekly email newsletter at ashleyslater.com. When you do, you'll get my free ebook, 5 Simple Marriage Tools You Should Know. We're looking forward to next time as we keep talking about how grace, commitment, and cooperation can help couples live the everyday moments of marriage together.
Team Us with Ted and Ashley Slater is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review the podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
Hi, I'm Zach,
And I'm Randy.
and we're from Salty Saints Podcast. We're a theology and apologetics podcast.
We hope to better equip you to be salt and light for your community. We hope that we can help you to go out and be a reflection of Jesus Christ to those around you, to your friends and your family, and especially to those that do not know Christ.
To find out more, subscribe at lifeaudio.com.